In this video, I will share with you how to craft miniature futuristic tower machines that kind of look like moisture vaporators from Star Wars. Save yourself a trip to the store or the internet. These things are going to be made from trash, but they're not trash. They look cool, okay? Good day or night to you, and welcome to the Gaming Tome. In Star Wars, there's all this scrappy tech dirtying the environment, adding grit and realism to the world. My miniature terrain collection could use a little bit of that mystery future tech magic. One iconic Star Wars prop is the moisture vaporator. These towering arrays of poles and boxes that dot the fringes of civilization on Tatooine are great for futuristic miniature games because of their versatility. It is the kind of model that can be grouped up for heavy industrial scenery, paired up with other terrain as some sort of appliance, or scattered across a landscape as a reminder that technologically advanced civilization is near. Now, I have been gathering scrap for miniature builds for a while. One of the things that I have been collecting are the bottles from hygienic and cosmetic products used around my household. More specifically, I've been hoarding bottles that have a pump mechanism. You know, bottles like this where you press the top part. Or bottles like this one where you say,
And most importantly, remember, always wear the goggles.
Bottles make for awesome miniature industrial tanks and silos, but the pump mechanisms within are the real gem. They have shapes that already look like machinery, and they contain tons of useful little bits if you can take them apart. It turns out those pump mechanisms are perfect for making miniature terrain that looks kind of like moisture vaporators. I actually already made a few of these pieces, and they turned out awesome. In this video, I'm going to make some more and show you how you can make your own. Let the crafting begin. The first step is gathering pieces from which to build the actual models. As I previously mentioned, internal mechanisms from pump dispensers and mist spray bottles are perfect for this build. These cylindrical bits have frequent changes in width and sometimes have knobs, holes, but also rings of vertical support fins. Alone, these pieces are simple, but glue a few together and it quickly gets complex. Bigger pump mechanisms are preferred, such as this one from a shampoo bottle. This piece has enough parts to probably be its own piece of terrain, but don't overlook the smaller pumps. They all have pieces that are useful for this project. You will want to disassemble and clean the pumps. The best way to clean these is just stick that intake tube into a cup of fresh water and pump away. That will flush the fresh water through the mechanism and get it mostly clean. You may have to pause a couple of times during disassembly to clean out areas that have been revealed. Now, how do you disassemble these pump mechanisms? First, remove the intake tube. It can usually be pulled off with ease. Don't throw these away. They're useful for modeling miniature pipes and hoses. The head of the dispenser, where the soap or other product squirts or sprays from, can also usually be pulled straight off. Almost all of these mechanisms can be detached from the surrounding screw cap by applying force straight down on the pump. This large pump, however, had a top cover that needed to be pried off to release the screw cap. Once separated, put the screw caps off to the side for later. These bits are also useful for crafting. Now we are left with the pump itself. At this point, there's about a 50-50 chance that it can be broken down further. Disassemble it as far as it is convenient for you. Sometimes one of these devices will surprise you and come apart into a bunch of useful pieces, and other times they just don't break down easy, and it's not worth it. Each device is different. Try your best. Once you have disassembled the pump mechanism, it is time to reconfigure the pieces into the desired shape of the model. There's no right way to do this. Just try fitting the pieces together in ways they weren't meant to go and see what looks good. The more pumps you collect, the more parts you have. The more parts means more configurations, which also means more choices, but it leads to better models in the end. I usually spend a lot of time in this step, just mixing and matching pieces, trying to optimize how I will allocate them across the models I want to make. There are a few patterns though that cropped up in how I used my pieces. I like making these towers wider at the base and have them taper off near the peak. That usually means that the outer body of the pump gets used in the middle or lower half, while the thinner cylindrical bits from inside go on the top of the towers. The screw caps that we detached earlier make for excellent bases thanks to their wide diameter, but also because of their hollow insides where weights can be stored to add further stability. The caps also often have this fluted grip siding that just looks cool. These pieces are often enough to build the main body of the model, but if you have additional pieces that fit the build, use them. I'm using some bits scavenged from mechanical correction tape dispensers, like this shiny cylindrical bit of plastic. With the main body planned out, it is time to start gluing. In my experience, hot glue is the best option, but not all hot glue is made equal. Hot glue is designed for porous surfaces, but in my experience, quality hot glue sticks really strong to non-porous surfaces too. But cheap hot glue peels right off. I've bought cheap hot glue that doesn't stick to anything before, and I've also bought hot glue that I can't peel off things that I need to peel it off of. So buy quality hot glue. It should work on attaching these pieces together. If it doesn't though, you can try super glue. There may be a little trouble with getting enough surface-to-surface contact for a strong bond, though. But don't put hot glue on top of super glue. The heat will turn the super glue into noxious fumes, and you'll die. Or worse, you'll survive. No, but seriously, don't heat super glue. Not good. Toxic fumes. Noxious fumes. Say no to noxious fumes. You don't want to end up like Stanky McGee. Do you? Now it is time to add bonus parts and features. Exterior pipes reaching up and bending into the towers quickly add complexity. The intake tubes that reach from the pumps to the bottom of their bottles are perfect for this feature. They are also useful for plugging any horizontal holes the pump parts might have. Cut one of the tubes at a 45-degree angle, glue it back together, and you have yourself a miniature pipe with a 90-degree elbow. I glued a couple to my towers. These pipes go a long way toward making the machine look more real. Breaking up large, smooth areas of the model will also help further a genuine scrappy aesthetic. Glue a couple of small paperboard rectangles to the sides of the tower. They will look like raised covers of access panels. You can also add poles to the outside. Taking inspiration from the moisture vaporator, I added many poles to my largest tower. I used short lengths of square dowel as crossbeams to space them away from the central body. I opted to add a single taller pole as a side support for one of my narrowest towers. This asymmetric detail dirties the overall shape, and I like it. You can base the towers like any other piece of terrain. I prefer to keep them unbased. These models are not that stable though. If you go the unbased route, then take advantage of the hollow screw cap by gluing washers, nuts, and bolts inside to weigh down the bottom of the model. This is what I did for the majority of my tower machines. I did, however, end up with a few that were so small that I opted to base them together as a cluster. Once the models are built, it is time to paint them. The plastic is not porous, so chances are it will not take paint easily. Start with a coat of primer to create a surface that the paint will more easily adhere to. Give that a few hours to dry and then start layering on the base color. The smooth surfaces will likely take multiple layers. It took me 3 layers to get full coverage. I chose to paint some of my towers white, taking inspiration from the structures of Tatooine. Others received coats of gray paint. In Star Wars, most Imperial machines and structures have this solid gray color scheme. My goal is to make half of the towers resemble Imperial installations. Metallic color schemes are also fitting for this build. Silver and dark gunmetal are safe choices for industrial machinery, but copper and brass could give them a steampunk or maybe even high fantasy look. Maybe these machines are part of a dwarven forge. When you have a solid, dry base coat, drench the model in black and brown washes. I chose a black-brown wash for my gray towers. This adds a dirty, greasy coloration to the overall surface. I deployed sepia and darker brown washes on my white towers. This shifted the white to a splotchy cream with brown recesses. Give the paint a week or two to cure and then apply a coat of varnish. This step is crucial. I cannot stress this enough. The plastic pieces used to build these models are smooth. They're non-porous. They were not meant to be painted, and it shows. Just a little scratch or a little bit of paint sticking to a surface can cause the acrylic to lift off of the model. It sounds bad, and that's because it is. But there is a solution. It sounds a little weird, but a layer of varnish on the outside is enough to keep the paint from detaching from the model. Varnish is stronger than normal paint, and coating the entire surface with that strong layer, I like to think of it like a vacuum seal bag for the model. It's a sturdy layer that conforms to the shape, and it just holds everything in. Varnish will not strengthen the bond between the paint and the underlying model, but it will make that skin of acrylic more uniformly tough. Little pieces are not going to break off as easily. It will take more force or a much larger total detachment from the surface for paint to be lost. Long story short, varnish your models. Varnish can be applied by spray can, airbrush, or you can brush it on by hand. What matters though is that you do get a coat of varnish over the paint. Skip the varnish and I guarantee you will have to touch up the model with paint. Once the varnish is cured though, these models are ready for the tabletop. And that's it. We did it. We crafted miniature futuristic tower machine models while saving the planet from a sandwich bag full of plastic garbage. It would have been a lot cooler if we saved the planet from a galactic emperor or perhaps the supreme overlord. Yeah, that's right. We're talking about space feuds from Borg Snookus. Everyone thinks Supreme Overlord Stuart XII is an old man that happens to be a devout follower of the Eternal Broth. But what they don't know is that he is actually a creepy old man that happens to be a Dark Lord of the Bisque. But you didn't hear that from me. Also, I forgot to mention, spoiler alert. These are some of my favorite pieces of miniature terrain. They look like they were pulled right out of a Star Wars scene. These towers will look great clustered together as industrial machinery or scattered across the table as sparse technological installations. They will fit nicely in futuristic miniature games like, say, Warhammer 40k or Star Wars Legion or Stargrave or Starfinder or anything else that starts with star. Or anything that starts with space, like Space Feuds the miniature game. Also by Borg Snookus. That guy has a lot of time on his hands. They also make for nice objective markers due to their compact circular footprint, plus their height, which makes them hard to miss, all while being disguised as a piece of mystery future tech. What do you think about this build? What would you call these towers? What do these towers do? Leave a comment down below. Wrong answers are allowed and encouraged. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you did not, then tell me why. If you want to see more content, then open the maintenance panel on your mystery future tower machine. Press the subscribe button conveniently placed there and set the tower to operating mode 2. What does that operating mode mean? Well, you see. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, keep making and keep playing. Have a good one. Oh yes, I know what these towers do. This one makes a whoa, 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 whoa sound. This tower cooks pizzas. This one extracts mayonnaise from the subterranean natural mayo deposits. But the mayo needs to go to the refinery first. You don't want to put crude mayo on your sandwich. That's just not good.
You want some, don't you?